Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Powerhouse Woman Show. On this show, we sit down one on one with some amazing women. We learn their story, we learn what makes them so unique, and how they've overcome challenges, and what lessons that they've learned and advice that they have to share. So that's what we're all about on the Powerhouse Woman Show. I'm your host, Monica Pierre. I'm an Emmy Award winning reporter and a journalist and producer. And I really work with people to help them with their story. And the Powerhouse Woman Show is brought to you by Story Maker Academy. It's our program where we work with leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals to show them how to discover, deliver their stories for impact and influence. Today, we're talking to an amazing leader. We're going to talk about what it means to show up and navigate in different spaces and what the lessons that she has learned. So we're going to bring her on right now. We're going to be talking to the one and only Voris Vigee, Volunteers of America, Southeast Louisiana, CEO and president of the organization. Hello, my friend. It's been a while. Welcome to the
Yes, it
show.
has. Thank you, Monica. Great
Oh,
to
I'm
see
so
you.
excited. And immediately I said yes when the offer was made. We're going to talk about what it means to navigate those leadership spaces and also how do you use your platform to bring others along, help them to see what's possible, encourage them as well. But you have been with Volunteers of America for a long time. I want to kind of
30
rewind the
years.
clock, take you back 30 some years, right?
30 years.
Your first job, and what was that, either that first day or first week like for you?
My first job here at Volunteers America was serving as the program coordinator for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I was extremely excited because I was joining an organization that was aligned with my values, as well as an organization that was extremely well known nationally and had several affiliates at the time, over 30 affiliates across the country. So allowed me the opportunity to know that I can grow in my career here in the space with an organization that I was aligned with value wise.
I'm always curious about those who are with an organization for a very long time. Was the plan initially that first day, that first week to say, I'm going to run the joint eventually? Or were opportunities presented to you which caused you to open up what's possible for you?
Well, the plan was I was going to grow with the organization and seek leadership roles. Now, it was beyond my imagination that I would one day become the president and CEO of the organization. Not that I didn't have the skill set eventually, but that was not part of my initial plan, my strategic plan when I stepped foot in the door.
Wow. Do you find that oftentimes people, or particularly those who really have the leadership qualities, don't think and see a larger vision for themselves?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think because of the fact that when you're navigating in an environment where sometimes you don't see other leaders and you see, people being satisfied and complacent as to where they are and not being, as inspired or and aspiring to grow and do more because they're okay with what they're doing. People kind of dim their light internally at times. And I think it's our jobs as a leader to pull that out and to have those conversations with individuals about their level of potential. Because one part of my role, and I say this to my colleagues, I say this to the staff here at the organization, the team, I said, my job is to inspire you. My job is encourage you and empower you to see your internal potential. I said, I can open the door and bring you to the table, but it's up to you to stay there. So that's part of my role. And that's how we're supposed to build the community,
Wow. Yeah.
uplift everyone in the process.
Right.
But it's up to them, their decision to remain.
Right. So powerful. And one of the things, Boris, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. How have you navigated or learned to navigate especially if you were the only one in the room that may have looked like you? And how did you set clear expectations of how you're going to show up in those rooms regardless?
Well, interesting you would ask that question because I have been the only one in the room as I ascended to this role. But one thing for sure, you have to be authentic. That's important, Monica. Truly authentic. I never sacrifice who and whose I am. And I stood on what I brought to the table. And I did not allow anyone to question my level of competency, and always willing to open my ears and be an active listener and learn, because you can learn from anyone, right? Were there times of, of me being uncomfortable? Yeah, I was uncomfortable. But it wasn't uncomfortable that had a level of uncomfortness that shaped my confidence, right? Uncomfortable being that there weren't other folks. And I believe there are other folks that need to be at the table as well, because we have to be representative as leaders of the communities in which we serve. So, but yeah, that was a challenge. But I dealt with it,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Right.
That's how you grow.
That's how
You
you
be
grow.
stretched a little
Right.
bit. It's okay.
I have been in rooms or organizations, and even without saying it, they always thought that I was different or
Yeah,
special.
yeah,
And I'm thinking, no, I'm just showing up as me. And while you
absolutely,
think you're complimenting me, you're
absolutely,
really diminishing me.
absolutely.
What has been your experiences and how have you handled it if you had similar experiences?
Absolutely. So Monica, first and foremost, one thing I want to make sure your audience hears and hears clearly is that a lot of times communities of color, Black communities, and all communities, there is specifically Black communities. The negative is polarized, and what I want folks to understand, I am the rule and not the exception. There are more individuals who look like me and work as hard as me and who are making impactful steps across these communities, across the country, and they're doing extremely well. So, if we take the race part out of it and just look at, what folks are bringing to the table, their educational background, their work ethic, their compassionate heart, in order to lead, the level of servant leadership. Stop looking at us like we're the exception. There are more of me that exist, and we're on fire. We're on
Mm.
fire, and that should be the standard across all races.
Oh,
That
that
should
is
be the
so
standard.
good. A little bit, you talked a little bit about the first day, the first week. What's a typical day or week like for you now as the CEO and president of Volunteers of America, Southeast Louisiana?
I can say this, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to see the movie with Forrest Gump, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
always say, like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get day to day here, but it's all good.
Hmm.
That's what keeps me engaged, and I think that's what, why we continue to have longevity of staff here at the organization. Because there are challenges that we have to mitigate, but there are challenges that stretch us and challenges that make us grow. And at the end of the day, we know that we're transforming and saving lives. And we can place our head on the pillow at night and we've done great work. So, it's exciting
Yeah.
for me and for the team members. Very exciting.
Well, we are getting some comments in the comment section. So we have the one and only Dr. Monica Briscoe. Thank you for having such an important conversation at this important time. Absolutely. And to say it with such clarity, and such conviction and unapologetically, we appreciate that. And she goes further to say, hashtag we are on fire. Somebody make a t-shirt.
Woo!
Somebody go ahead and make a t-shirt on that one. And before we talk a little bit more about some of the things that you're working on with Volunteers of America, Talk about either code switching or how we choose to define ourselves, because
Hmm.
that's important. Because under
Hmm.
the other things that you do very, very well is that you are direct. And I have found many women of color in particular, leaders, are direct.
Yes.
Is it because that's your style, or is it because you've learned the importance of being direct?
It is definitely my style. Um, and let me tell you why, Monica. I am direct because it is a disservice to anyone whom I'm communicating with to leave them in the wind, to have them to think, okay, did she mean this or did she mean that? Now, there are times that, I am direct and people, they stand there and say, well, did you mean this? And I said, let's paraphrase it. Why don't you paraphrase it back to me? And they paraphrased it back. I said, that's not what I intended for you to hear. Let me repeat myself. And so when we're not direct, we're not being fair to the other individual because we want to make sure that there is clear communication on both sides. You can't be lukewarm. You got to be hot or cold, especially in a leadership role. And when you're direct, when you're helping that individual to see what they need to do to improve themselves, you're helping that individual to get to guide whatever challenges that they're dealing with and trying to help them to mitigate it. And when you're unclear, that allows a lot of ambiguity. And then also, it allows an opportunity for failure to increase. Now, we all know there's no success without failure, but it's my job as the leader to minimize those failures. And the best way is clear communication. Clear communication. And I've had, staff to come to me and say, that's dumb what you said. You were very clear and you were very direct, but that's dumb. But I appreciate you for saying it. I
Mhm.
said, would you feel better if I came to you and, I kind of coddled you and nurtured you and say, oh, then you'd be like, well, you know what? It was okay what I did. I want you to be clear. No, it wasn't okay. But I want you to utilize that opportunity as a teachable moment. That challenge, that opportunity as a teachable moment. What did I learn from this? What could I have done better in order to make sure that this decision was the right decision for myself and for the organization? So, yes, Monica, I'm extremely direct.
I got you.
That's
I
my
got you. That's
personality
your personality, and
at
that
home, at work, with friends.
yes, with friends as well. How do you manage or navigate and lead different generations? Because in the workplaces today, we have different generations, or several,
Right,
sometimes three and four
right,
generations,
right.
and there's a generation that wants to hear all the great things first, and then, oh, by the way, you could work on this.
Hmm.
What are some of the leadership options that one
Hmm.
has in dealing with various generations in the workplace?
Great question. Especially since I have young adults. My children are young adults. I think it's important that we as leaders understand that we can learn from anyone and everyone. We can learn what to do and what not to do, right? Everyone can teach us something. And so actively listening to the younger groups, the younger leaders, and hearing their ideas. And you'll be surprised, they have a lot of creative ideas, and they come from a totally different angle. If you're setting up communication where it's a win-win, and when I say win-win, I mean that sometimes I may have to compromise. And I say, okay, using a young leader as an example and making them feel comfortable in their space and they want to navigate and guide and all of that. I say, okay, what do you think the decision should be? And they say the decision should be this. And if it's not going to bring, the organization down or a huge detriment to the organization, even though I may know they should have gone right and they chose left, I'm going to let them go left. And at the end of the day, when it comes back and it doesn't work out, and I say, what did you learn from that? You tried that, and that's okay. So, what would you do differently? So, embrace them because they are our future. And anytime we're in a space where we think we are the smartest ones in the room, we have already failed. We have already failed because, my children, who are much younger than me, I learn a lot from, as well as some of my colleagues. They have some of the most brilliant ideas. I'm like, well, you know what? I didn't even think about it like that. And so having that one team spirit and embracing folks, embracing all their experiences in which they bring to the table, because they come from various backgrounds, that makes a better work environment, better culture, and it allows us to grow together.
Right. We're almost out of time, but I want you to pull out one or two projects or initiatives that under your leadership that you all are focusing on.
Well, we recently had a groundbreaking for our family focused recovery program. And that groundbreaking took place almost 3 weeks ago today. We plan to open it in the early summer. It's going to be located at 1801 Canal Street. And this is going to be a program that's going to have pregnant women and mothers with children, mothers and pregnant women who are recovering in substance use. It's going to be a residential facility. And this is where we've partnered with the Humana Foundation and Humana or Managed Care Organization. And this is, where we can uplift these women because a lot of women who are dealing with substance use issues, they are couch surfing. They want treatment, but they don't want to leave their kids behind. And so this is one of those solutions to that issue. So we can continue to provide the entire family support. That's one thing. The second project is that we're constantly developing multi-family workforce housing, affordable housing. And we need the community to use their voice to assist us, to tell what their needs are. We want folks who are living across Louisiana to be able to work and afford housing. And so we're building multifamily housing. We have a grand opening in January for Celeste Landing. That's uptown. We're planning that. We're in the process of planning that. And then we have, projects across the state of Louisiana, whereas we're building affordable housing. So we need people to understand that we're out there. We hear what you're saying, that you got to make your dollars stretch. You're working 2 or 3 jobs, and we want to make sure you have quality and safe housing. So, and that's through our Renaissance Neighborhood Development Corporation. And that's a subsidiary of Volunteers America Southeast Louisiana. And that's two of many projects that we have happening right now. We have over 30 plus programs.
Well, again, give us a contact or a website or even where on social media that people can follow along and see what you're doing, particularly with vulnerable communities.
Our website is voasela.org, and we are on all of the social media handles like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and for Facebook, we're at Facebook at Volunteers America, or you can call us at 504-482-2130, 504-482-2130.
Wow. Well, our show, we have, people who watch us, in Canada and all over the country. So they're seeing all the great work and hearing about what you're doing. And if I have to pull a quote from all the great gems today, I'm going with this one. I am the rule, not the exception.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Voris, for being with us on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Monica. It's been a joy.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today on the Powerhouse Woman Show. We'll be back again next Thursday. We'll be live with another amazing interview on the Powerhouse Woman Show. And again, the show is brought to you by Storymaker Academy. We are enrolling for next year. Classes begin January 13th, 2025. So make sure you go to storymakeracademy.com, that is, for more information. And we'll talk to you next week on the Powerhouse Woman Show.